Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I just feel like we're in the town board room. I almost feel like we should really do the Pledge of Allegiance. So why don't we do that? And I'd ask Councilman John Cochran to please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would just ask for a moment of silence, just in memory of the brave men and women whose lives were lost in Afghanistan recently, and also in memory of all those whose lives have unfortunately been lost because of addiction. Thank you. I would like to begin by recognizing the elected officials that joined us this afternoon. Councilwoman Mary Kate Mullen, who you will know, if you don't already, is a member of our Opioid Task Force, and Councilman John Cochran, always been very supportive of our initiatives here in the town. Also joining us today, Mike Scarpelli, who is Executive Director of South Oaks. Mike, if you'd stand. The former Senator of New York State, who was the majority leader of the state Senate, who is now VP of Government Affairs for Northwell, John Flanagan. John, thank you so much for being here. And from Outreach, I believe the title is Senior Residential Director. I'm not sure if I have that right or not, but Dave Vizzini. Dave, thank you, too, for being here. Also, we have members of the task force, members of the community, those who are so instrumental in helping us get here today with this Islip Goes Purple. And I don't want to sing, it's hard to see who's here and not here with the masks and all, but I know Liz Mayotte has been a stalwart in helping all of the behind the scenes that have to happen to make an event like this come off. So Liz, thank you so much. Mary Ann Pfeiffer, what? I'm sorry, I didn't. And I didn't have that name, so I apologize. Dr. Teitelbaum, right? From Good Samaritan Hospital. Chairman of? Thank you so much for joining us today. Mary Ann Pfeiffer, who's the Executive Director of YES and co-chair of our Town of Islip Opioid Task Force, and of course Drew Scott, the co-chair too of the Opioid Task Force. Kathy Koenigsoff, who's the founder of the J. Koenigsoff Foundation. And as I mentioned earlier, Liz Mayotte, who's also the president of the Chamber of Commerce. Today is a very significant and meaningful day for our community. The month of September is National Recovery Month. Today, Islip's continued commitment is demonstrated as we stand together, united in the memory of those whose lives were lost, those in recovery, those struggling, and the Islip families affected by the opioid and heroin crisis. The town of Islip has been at the forefront of this crisis, formed the task force in 2018, and again, I have to thank Marianne and Drew for a quick would you consider and an immediate yes. So I thank you so much for your willingness to serve. And to Councilwoman Mullen, who too, in addition to all of her duties as a council person, serves on the task force and is very vigilant about attending the meetings. As we unfortunately know, the crisis does not discriminate. It affects everyone, regardless of economic or social status. Alarmingly, some of the stats since the start of COVID-19, the fatal overdoses in Suffolk County have gone up 12% during this COVID time. 2020 had the highest number of overdoses since 2017. The majority were males between the ages of 21 and 35 years old. And in 2020, Town of Islip Fire and EMS agencies responded to 402 overdose-related 9/11 calls. 402, that's a lot of calls. And for the last 3 years, our community members, business owners, and community partners have been pivotal in the success of Islip Goes Purple. You know, when Kathy first brought this to us, she saw this down in Maryland happening. We were the first town to embrace it, and now I'm happy to report that others have reached out. What did you do? I spoke with the supervisor of the town of Babylon. How did you do that? We want to do it. We want to participate. So it is growing. So Kathy, thank you very much. So we talked about the numbers going up from the beginning in March of 2020 when the pandemic began. Fatal overdoses rose 43% in the first 4-week period, and non-fatal overdoses rose 19%. And the major factors for the uptick were COVID-related lockdown protocols, which brought about isolation, job insecurity, all of which had a negative impact on mental health. And Dr. Tannenbaum, I'm glad you're here because it is all tied together. The many uncertainties brought on by the pandemic saw the largest jump of overdoses in Narcan saves since 2017. And while we've taken a few steps in the fight against the opioid epidemic, we remain resilient as a community in our continued fight against the opioid heroin epidemic. I'd like to introduce our first speaker today, Kathy Koenigsoff, the founder of the J.K. Foundation, who will share her story. Kathy?
Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Koenigsoff. I'm the Executive Director of the J.K. Foundation. I'm a grateful member of the Town of Islip Opioid and Heroin Task Force for several years. Thank you, Angie Carpenter, by the way, for pulling this all together, and Marianne for leading us in our monthly meetings, and Jen Olson-Howitt, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, for all the work that she put in, and the entire task force for the commitment to this community. Islip Goes Purple is a community initiative. It's about people. It's about compassion, and it's about community. Community is not a place, it's not a building, or an organization. It's both a feeling and a relationship shared by people. Community and a sense of belonging have a crucial impact on health and well-being. I know that because my son Jake died when he was 21 years old. He was a member of this community. But unfortunately, our community didn't talk about addiction or recovery during his struggle 10 years ago. Today we do. Today I do. I became a member of another community through his passing, parents that lost a child to overdose. We all belong to several communities, and I am grateful for mine. Today I brought 2 friends with me, John, who's a retired detective who lost 2 brothers to this disease, and Janet, a mother who also lost her son. Each of us openly shares our story to help others. One of the statistics that I had to do a research paper last week, and I had to update my stats, and in 2017, we had 20 million people in active addiction. The new stats this year in 2020 are telling us we have close to 27 million people in active addiction. It's not getting better, but we are getting better access. But we have all the criteria for COVID that has made this much more difficult for people. There are probably several reasons for the increase, too much to dive into here. And I believe all of us can make a difference for one person, one family, or one neighbor. Reach out, and then reach out and give. Kindness. Kindness is what we can do for anybody who's struggling, whether it be COVID, addiction, or the loss. What can you do? Put a purple light bulb on your porch, put a purple bow upon a tree because you lost someone, because you love someone, or you are someone. And I found a great quote today when I wanted to figure out what I wanted to say, and it's by Coretta Scott King. And it says, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members." And Islip is a phenomenal community that pulls together. And I am a grateful member of this community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and we truly are very grateful for you to have suffered the loss that you suffered and have turned around and tried to make a positive impact in other people's lives. We can't thank you enough. Now I would ask Drew Scott, who is the co-chair of our task force, if he would please come forward and say a few words.
Thank you, Supervisor. I looked everywhere for a purple shirt today, and it seems they're all sold out. I went to 3 different places trying to find a purple shirt, so what you're doing is the right thing, and everybody's selling out purple shirts. So I just want to say that I don't regret the day that I left the anchor desk to become co-chair of the Southampton Town Task Force and then the Islip Town Task Force, because public awareness is so important. And that's what Islip Goes Purple is all about. It's public awareness. Now, in the tiny little town of Southampton, we suffered 18 overdose deaths in the year 2017, including my granddaughter, twin granddaughter. Her name was Hallie Ray. And it was a shock to me, because I'd covered heroin, I had covered addiction, and I thought I knew all about it. And I didn't know anything about it, really. So I started learning. The following year, after our public awareness campaign in the town of Southampton, we had 3 overdose deaths. And the year after that, we had 0 overdose deaths. So public awareness does work, and that's what Islip Goes Purple is all about. Letting people know what it means to have addiction in the community. Addiction is a disease, and addiction can be tackled. It can be cured, but it takes a community to work on that, and that's what the message is. So I don't regret shifting from the anchor desk to being a public advocate for Islip Going Purple. So I thank you for what you've done. Thank you, Marianne, also, and the work of the task force. Thank you for all that you've done. I just want to say this is a tough date for us, because in our family we lost our granddaughter on the 30th of August. Rather, her birthday was the 30th of August, and her death was on September the 7th. So it's tough for us, but it's meaningful in that these things can be turned around. So now, after the pandemic hit, we got our work cut out for us again. So our work doesn't stop, and that's why we need to keep this task force going, and we thank the town for seeing the importance of that. So keep supporting your task force members and your entire town board for what they're doing. It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Drew, thank you so very much for all you do. Our next speaker is Kristen, who came to our town board not too long ago and shared her story, and she very graciously agreed to come here again today, and we can't thank you enough, because your bravery in sharing your story really made an impact when it came time for us as a town to take the move, the bold move, I think. We're probably one of the first towns on Long Island to do so, and that was to vote to opt out of the marijuana legislation that was passed by the state. So, Kristen, if you would please come forward.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I chose not to prepare a speech as I did last time, because I am sharing my own personal story. So I didn't want to read it, I wanted to speak it. Today is actually my last day of residential treatment. I completed the program today, so it's a big day for me too. I myself suffered with addiction. I grew up in a household with a father who lost his life because of addiction. So I've seen various different perspectives of what addiction does, and I've seen how unforgiving and non-selective it is really is something that can affect pretty much anybody. And I also know that if I wasn't mandated into treatment, I probably never would have went, and I probably never would have gotten better or even survived. So that's really the largest concern for me, is that, yes, we refer to it as kind of like this unforgiving disease, but it's also something that is kind of not something you can move past when you have it. If you don't have that desire to want to be sober, and it takes a while to develop it, because I didn't have it at first, and I know a lot of people coming into recovery don't have it at first, you already don't have that motive to seek treatment. You don't know how, and you don't have any hope. And how far I've come now, I never thought I would ever even be in a place like this, speaking about recovery, living to speak about recovery. But yes, I think it's very dangerous. You had made a good point about COVID. The isolation has definitely caused a lot of increase in addiction use, a lot of boredom, a lot of separation, a lot of not really much socializing. So that's very dangerous, I know from personal experience, to using drugs. And I think that it's really scary, especially for the youth, because they don't have that foundation of living their life without using drugs. They don't have the foundation as, per se, someone who is an adult and becomes an addict in their mid-20s. They've already learned how to exist in society without drug use. But outreach has done a lot for me. I've come a long way. I've learned how to live without drugs, which doesn't really seem like much of an accomplishment, but it is for me. I'm becoming a senior. I have a lot of good things to look forward to that I never would have had if I didn't have recovery, if I didn't get sober, and if I didn't find fulfillment in my life without drugs. So yeah.
Thank you so very, very much. I just feel like I want to hug you. That was so beautiful. That was so brave. That was so articulate. I just hope that you'll continue advocating for recovery, advocating and letting everyone see how being hopeful is the way you have to go. And I have every confidence that you're going to continue to do that. And I promise you this, you will be in my prayers going forward. You're very special and we're very grateful. Thank you. Our next speaker today is going to be a woman who I've already introduced, who has been so steadfast in her commitment to this on the task force, and that's our Councilwoman Mary Kate Mullen. Kate?
Thank you, Supervisor. I just want to thank you for putting this all together. A few years ago, when you approached me about creating this task force, it was your idea along with Mary Ann, and of course, how could I say no? This has just been such an amazing experience for me. Mary Ann, Jessica, Drew, Kathy, this is what it's all about for us being a community. And just a quick story. We lit the tree last night in Bayport, and it was really a great night. We lit it purple, and we had 2 parents that came down that just lost their children to overdoses. And it was just really amazing to see them come down and be part of the community. And so many of the youth were there as well. And just, Kristen, to follow up on you as far as hope, I got a call last week from one of the moms that I know in town, and her daughter is on the field hockey team at Bayport High School. And the daughter wanted to take all of the girls down to this hair salon, Raising Hair, which Chris Cook has so generously donated purple extensions in honor of Islip Going Purple. So really, it's a community effort, and I'm so impressed with the youth, how they're jumping on board. And I really feel that with all of us, we will be able to bring awareness to the rest of town and the rest of Long Island. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Kate. Our last speaker today is Marianne Pfeiffer, who's the Executive Director of YES Youth Enrichment Services, who plays a pivotal role in the success of Islip Goes Purple, and who is the co-chair of our task force. So Marianne, if you would, please.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to see everyone. I know that next year we're going to be back outside and hundreds of people will be able to attend. We really had to limit it, both for outside and inside, which we decided this morning that we did not want to chance the weather. I just want to say Islip Goes Purple has been an amazing, amazing opportunity to work and meet so many people from the community, people struggling, people who have stories to tell everywhere we go, to work with Kathy Koenigsoff and Drew, and to meet young people like Kristen. And we have a lot of young people from outreach. I gave them a lot of seats because this is what it's about, and you guys are important. You are testimony to Recovery Works. Islip Goes Purple, and the month of September is International Recovery Month. That no matter the addiction, there is hope, there is help, and you can make it. For those parents whose children, many struggled, many, many times they kept going back. And that we need to recognize even if they didn't make it. And the parents who silently are in our corner, not everybody's out in the front. I want to thank them if they're in the room. I know there are so many people in this room who lost somebody to addiction. I'm not going to out them, that have come up to me and shared their story. Again, we started with heroin and opioids, but it's really about substance addictions. And we all have something. So that's the hope we have today. Last night was a beautiful ceremony, Mary Kate, and I was hoping that Dorothy could be here, and I'm not sure if they're outside and they got here late, but it was a time to show thanks, mourn with people. We had 2 new parents, though most of the people there had lost somebody, 2 new parents in this rather unfortunate circle. But today is about hope and recovery, and that's what the month of September is. I want to really acknowledge, because not everybody got the invite to be in here, but I want to say that we only had 1 year that wasn't in a pandemic, right? This is our 2nd year. I want to let everyone know that from West Islip through Blue Point, so the whole southern part of the town is now purple. That's an amazing thing, and I want to thank my YES prevention staff, in addition to the task force, and some of them are here, but you see a lot of them out there. We've also added Project Hope, which is a FEMA initiative that deals with COVID. It's a helpline, and there's information outside about that, because they've also helped this effort. That's pretty amazing during COVID. The amount of businesses, and I don't have them all, and I know the hair salon is doing it, but so many businesses have stepped forward. And I want to shout out to Catholic Hospitals, Good Samaritan, and Northwell, and I'm going to get it wrong, South Shore University Hospital. Did I get it right? Oh, Angela's going to... and South Oaks, and the doctors present, and the people who are really on the front lines. I thank you all. I did not allow my clinical director, we have a mental health clinic as well, to come to take up another spot, because that's how much I needed other people in. You guys are doing amazing work. This pandemic isn't over, and the addiction pandemic is like we've only just begun fighting. But again, Supervisor Carpenter for really taking the lead in the town board on recognizing this from the beginning. And then when Kathy told me about IGP, we call it now Islip Goes Purple, and only 1 other town in the country was doing it. So we're the 2nd, and we're the 1st in New York. Islip leads the way. And the immediate supportive of the supervisor and the town board to do this and to continue to turn everybody purple. Also, our school district started today, so they didn't get the invite either, only because we knew that they had to focus on a very difficult opening this year. Obviously, the town of Islip Heroin Task Force, Carolyn Smith, Mary Grace, the entire public affairs, and everybody, Deirdre, everybody who's just helped in the town. It's not just, I mean, they have gone above and beyond. The fire departments, Islip, West Islip, Bayport, Blue Point, and probably others I don't even know. Remember, decorating is very involved. Great South Bay Coalition, Barbara Voraz, Melanie Holtz, Dorothy, they're involved in so many things. Kate from the Breast Cancer Coalition, these are lists that people are giving me of everyone they contacted who did stuff. IDA Coalition, Marianne Anello, and everybody on IDA, which is the Islip School District, their drug task force. Again, yes is New York Project Hope, Beth Levy, and the entire Project Hope staff. The prevention staff, Alexia, and they're outside, Christian, Dayton, Jacqueline, Amy, Kevin, Youth Bureau, Tim Mayer, Community Chamber presidents throughout, but Liz Mayotte is the standout on that, though many have been so helpful, Rich Carpenter being another one in West Islip and pulling the West Islip project together. And I think it's important to take these minutes to hear these names because they're not able to be here. Eileen Tisner from the Sayville Chamber, Bayport Blue Point, Carol Seitz Cusack, the Bayport Blue Point Chamber Beautification, Dorothy Johnson, Janet Draffin, East Islip, Gary Tyke, Janine Amato, Denise Condas. And I think Denise is here. Civic associations, Bayport Blue Point Civic Association, Bob Draffin. And I want to point out, Sayville and Bayport Blue Point a few years ago were called Ground Zero in New York State for the heroin crisis by the governor. So they sprung into action, and I can't say enough about what they do out there. And I just wanted to do that. Shout out the Sayville Civic Association, Christine Sammy, David, what can I say from Outreach? Thank you for not just about Islip Goes Purple, the work you are doing for the kids right here in Islip and all the kids. Outreach is an amazing program. I've had personal experience with it for people in my family, and I know friends have, and it's amazing work that you guys are doing. Maxed Out, again, Kathy. Kathy's helping people get into recovery. So many scout troops, I can't begin to even name them, decorating. Of course, South Shore University, Northwell, blah, 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 blah. Our school districts who are really getting into it as well, hanging banners, and we're seeing that throughout. I see Debbie Kavanaugh, who is a board member at Central Islip, and next year they will be, the whole north part of this town will be purple. I promise you. Our faith-based sectors, shout out to Bayport United Methodist, Blue Point Bible Church, Our Lady of the Snow, Islip Rotary Club members, the Islip Art Council with Linda Moran, and IAC board members. I guess that's the Islip Art Council board members. And so many others. If I forgot you, I'm sorry. I tried to have an exhaustive list. And for everyone who helps me every day, and this past year and a half has been trying, and I'm so happy that this grew again this year. We've grown it every year, and we will not stop. Also, Town of Huntington, we've been working with them. They are going purple this year. And Greenport reached out to me because we know what happened out there just last month. And I said, there's time. I said, if you can come, if it's outside. If it's inside, you won't be able to, because I don't have room. But, you know, drive around, follow our Facebook, and they've already done stuff. They're already doing this in September. So those things, and Brookhaven just passed, they had the day passed, and for overdose awareness. And I believe Babylon as well has purple up. So thank you all once again, and we'll continue. By the way, you get a bag when you're leaving, has goodies, and there are purple cupcakes, because individually wrapped. Bring it with you, because I think cupcakes are a way to feel positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Certainly cupcakes make you feel positive. And so does Mary Ann. Her enthusiasm is unparalleled, and she really throws her heart and soul into everything that she does, and we can't thank you enough along with Drew for co-chairing the task force. Everyone who came down here today, Marianne, thank you for that shout out to all of those people, and there are more. I'm sure we've missed some. But please know that we truly, truly appreciate everything that everybody is doing. To have the dialogue, to know that this is existing, and it's never too young. You're never too young to start being aware of what's going on, because the temptations will come your way. And one of the youngest people that are here today is Liz's niece, Emma. So we thank you for being here, Emma, and you're going to help carry that message. There is hope. We must always remember that. So without further ado, we're going to throw the ceremonial switch, because our cupola, which will be under construction, this will probably be the last ceremonial lighting that we'll be able to have, because the cupola is being repaired, but it will be lit purple for the month of September. So Islip truly goes purple. So I'd ask the town board members to come help me throw the switch. And you know, Kristen should be the one pulling that switch. Okay? You did such a great job, Steve. Thank you. On the count of 3, 2, 1, and it's lit. Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and don't forget your cupcakes.